Alright, by this time we have created our add-on and we have generated some streams and the tables and the entry namespaces and the controllers and a bunch of cool stuff that have really kind of kick-started this add-on development. So now what we want to do is take a look at the control panel and build out the CRUD. So we'll want to build out our forms, our tables, and make sure any validation that is required is taken care of, and maybe take a look at the translations for all of our fields and our sections and whatnot at the end of the video as well. So to get started, when we create our streams using the make add-on, it places the routes in a generic routes directory in the resources, and this is loaded. Every routes file, any PHP file in here is going to get loaded up, and you are more than welcome to route your add-ons that way. In this particular case, I am going to move them into the service provider just because that's what I typically do out of habit. If we open up the videos one and we copy this here and go over to our service provider, I'm just going to get rid of everything right now except for routes. And you'll notice that it says videos/videos, and this is because this was the first one that we generated, and it can't there's no detection of like, oh hey, like the section in the stream is the same as the name of the add-on, or this is the first section of the add-on, so it doesn't reduce that down. What I want to do is just take this and remove that duplicate. So now it's just admin/videos. That'll show us our index of videos, and then the rest follows suit there. So hopping back over here, I'm going to take the series stuff as well. And I'm just going to plop that under, and the categories. Delete that directory and paste categories in here. So now we have our admin routes pretty much all set up here. And if we want, I've already installed this add-on, and I'm going to take a look at the control panel now. Let's see if I have it open here. Workbench admin. And I'm going to go ahead and log in. And it'll be in our drop down here. We'll go to variable. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong add-on. Videos. And you'll see that the route that we have defined up there is present. So we don't really see a whole lot right now. We see this random example section here. There's no description. There's no nothing going on. So next, let's take a look at how to define the different sections in our module and how to start filling those out. And just as a heads up, while a lot of times I find that sections are named directly after the streams that they display and help manage, it's not always the case. You can name your sections whatever. It just so happens I kind of have an OCD thing where I like the sections to be named the same as the stream that they're displaying. It just kind of helps things fall into a nice natural state. So let's take a look at the module class in our videos module. If we pop this open, we'll see these sections is already defined as example. And just as another heads up here, I've already got lazy translations turned on here. So if we were to comment out this particular environmental variable, there's not going to be any translations for this add-on. I have it this way because we're going to define translations at the end, and just to kind of pretty things up and take the lazy route, I just want to see what the intention is without actually going through and make those translation files just yet. And I actually have production stuff run this way too. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's going to guess all of the values for the translation keys. So let's go ahead and make some sections. The first section that we're going to want is videos, and then we'll want sections. Series, and then we'll want categories. And if we reload, you'll see that these are already guessed for us because of that lazy translations. If we click on series, unknown column, So if we go into our migrations, that looks like a problem with my title column. By default, streams are ordered by their title column. So let's see here, that was for series, and the title column is true. That's crap. So let's change that and update it to title. Let's make sure categories is correct here. We actually don't even have one here, and it's not needed, so we'll leave that for now. And going back over into our terminal, PHP Artisan, and what I'm going to do is just migrate, refresh for that particular add-on, so it'll get that information from the migration that I just changed into the database. And it's just like Laravel, except in this case we will specify the add-on with the .namespace or slug. Roll back, and it'll remigrate here. Excellent. So if I revisit this series page, no error. Great. And categories is all the same. And you'll notice that up here, it uses the slug that we're technically we're defining the slug of the section here, because we will go on to define more details about the section this way. So it's using the slug by default here in the URI, and there's some documentation to explain how to manipulate that and change the permalink for sections, but we're not going to get into that in this video. We're going to keep it simple for now. So like I said, we want to define a little bit more for these sections. For instance, we want to be able to create a video or create a series or create a category. So let's go ahead and define a button. The buttons for this section will only need one, and let's do a create button. And you'll notice that I'm just using, again, a slug here, and what this is going to do is look up a pre-registered button. There's a whole lot of them. Check documentation again for how to use these, but if we look for create, we will see that if we define create, it'll be the same as defining all of this stuff for us. So it's going to create the text for us, the icon, and the type, and it's also going to guess the text based off of what we have provided. So if I reload here in the videos section, we'll see a create button. There it is. And being that the slug is create, when you click on it, you'll also see the URI again build up into more detail using the slug of the button. If this were edit, it would use edit, and subsequently it would append the ID of the entry in question too. But this is just kind of how the control panel builds up using slugs and kind of guessing things. We could easily change that create text to something like create video, and when we reload, it's going to overload the text but use all of the other stuff from the definition that we are using. Text, and then the actual value. So this is going to use all of the stuff that we just looked up, except it's going to override the text. Create video, and here we are. So let's go ahead and select a file that I've already uploaded, some beautiful pants, and a test video title, test video description, and we'll save it. Perfect. So we've only got the title column here. It defaults to the title column, but we want a little bit more in here. So we're looking at a table, and we're in the videos section looking at the videos stream. So the first place I think it kind of makes sense to look would be within the videos namespace. And here's a table, and here's a table builder. And if we look at it, it's already got the basic properties ready to go for us. All we have to do is fill in the blanks. Columns, the simplest way you can define columns are just field slugs. So we want to see the video title and description. And if we reload, we'll see the video title and description. And let's say we want to add a filter, for the title. Perfect. And let's say we want to show a preview of that of the poster image. And to do that, we're going to use what's called valuation. And valuation is covered in documentation, but basically it takes the string or an array definition that we have and the object for that particular row and tries to determine a value output for it. So in this case, we're going to access the entry, which is the row entry, and we're going to access the poster field. And what this will end up doing is returning, I believe, the JSON, just a value. So the next thing we want to do is actually map and output. What we're doing here is it's going to be the entry, the poster field type, which because we're in a view, technically we're looking at a table, it'll return the presenter, and we're using a file field type which returns a file presenter instead of the field type presenter. If we were using something like the slug field type, it would return the slug field type presenter, but relations always return the object. So poster and then preview. There we go. And just to give you a heads up, the file model let's jump over here real quick. Oh, I'm sorry, file presenter. I was getting my names mixed up. If we go down and look for the preview method, this is basically what we're calling. And you'll see that the width and height are automated for us, but what this means is that we could technically go back here and do a larger one. So that's kind of how you can map to presenters. In this particular case, it just so happens that the object related, the object returned by the poster field is the object because it's a relation. So I'm going to remove this, and that should be good to go. Cool. And let's say maybe we want to have a special search filter. This comes in core, and what we can do is define multiple fields to search through. So let's search through the title and description. And when we reload, we'll have a special search filter, and we can use something like this, and it'll pull up the description as well. So while we're at it, let's go ahead and fill out the sections for series and categories. And for these, I want to show you something a little bit different. Let's go back up to our add-on here. Videos module. For the series, we're going to have buttons again, of course, because we need to create a series. I'm going to use a magic button. And what this does is any button where the slug starts with new or add and then an underscore, it's going to break that off and make either a new type or add type button, which is very similar to a create. It also uses the create slug, so the URI will be create. And then it's going to take series and try and formulate a name for it based off of a named pattern. And we'll get into that a little bit later when we turn translations off. But for now, all I want to do is have a new series button and get it over with. So let's define, whoops, goodness gracious, and a new categories button. New category. It should be singular. Yeah, whoops. Okay, so buttons. Okay, so we've got our new series button, and this will take us to the create form, and we've got a category, and again it'll take us to the new categories, and you can see the URI up here is following suit as well. So let's go ahead and create a series. And we'll go ahead and define that table, series table in the table builder, and let's have a just simple title filter, and we want to show the title and the description. Perfect, and we'll do the same for categories. Open up the table builder, same filter, same categories, except we use name instead of title here. Okay, and create a category. And you see here, it's not auto-slugifying the name because when we added the field, we configured it for title. So this is going to destroy data, but let's go ahead and fix that migration and then refresh. You can override the configuration for fields on the assignment via the API. You can't do it over the control panel, but you can do it through API here. So in the categories stream for the slug assignment, we're going to define config again, and instead of the type here, the slugify value being title, we're going to want to slugify the name. And if we come back over here and refresh our add-on, refresh our migrations rather, and reload our form, it's slugifying as normal. And when we go back to series, it should be slugifying that as normal too. There's some garbage information in here for now. We'll select our khaki pants. And blah, 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 blah. Cool, so now we have our basic scaffolding setup, and if we go back, you'll notice there's an edit button for each row, and there's also a delete action here. This is something that comes predefined in the table builders. You'll notice if we go down, it's already got an edit button here, and it's also got a delete action here, and that's where those come in. If you want to remove those, let's see, that was for the category table builder, then you can go ahead and do that, and it would remove that button there, and subsequently you can add your own. And this is a registered button, but you can add your own custom button definitions. Documentation has plenty to say about button definitions and what parameters you can set, as well as a full list of registered buttons as well and how they work. So with that said, this is looking pretty good. This is just a basic example of setting up some tables, filters, your columns. We've got your forms, and we've got some validation built in, so if we try and submit, then it won't let us. If we go back and let's try and create a video with the same slug. What's this one? Test video. In fact, let's just copy that. Then it'll complain about the oops. And that slug has already been taken, and the description field is required as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and turn off our lazy translations, and we'll look at getting these things translated. And we'll reload. Okay, so there's a lot that that option actually does for us. So first thing you'll notice is these sections are all blown out because they're the translation keys, but you'll see that we have the add-on .namespace followed by the add-on, which is the file name, and then section.videos. So let's go ahead and define that first. We scroll back up here, and let's close these out and go into our language add-on, and it's add-on and then section, and then I believe the slug. And that should be translated now, and we'll do the same for categories and series. Oops. Okay, so we have those. Let's go ahead and give our add-on a description. You'll see that this pops up underneath of the sections. our text for the button was hard-coded, but let's go ahead and remove that and just use a magic button. Okay, so this is looking for the same thing. It's the add-on .namespace followed by button.new. So that's going to be a button file, and then new, I should say new video, I believe, in there. I don't know why that's not showing correctly. It's must be a bug in the guesser. So let's create that file, and let's return our language keys, new video. Cool. And let's go ahead and make the category and series as well. And those series and categories buttons should be translated now. Cool. Next, let's tackle these field names. So we've got the names for all of our fields. They go in a field file, followed by the field slug, and then a name key. So let's create that file. Oops. Field.php. I'm just going to return our language keys here. Let's see, the first one we had was poster. We've got title and description. Poster. Oops. Name equals poster. We'll have title, description. We'll have slug, and I think maybe that was it. Title, description, slug. Oh, and we've got name as well. Okay, so the header should be taken care of, and if we edit, and you'll notice the edit and some of the other stuff like filter, you know, these come from like the delete action. These are registered, so the text is it comes with Stream's platform and it's already translated for you. Okay, that looks good. And what we can do now is, you don't see it because the translation keys don't exist, but you can also provide a placeholder, description, and warning for each field optionally. And I say optionally because if it's not defined, it's not going to show up by default. So if we go back in here, and we can also provide a name, or a label rather. So if we do a label, that's going to override for forms only. The name is the name of the field. The label will default to the name, but you can provide something different if you want. And let's see here. Let's define some instructions. And a warning. Yeah, that'll do. And if we reload, we'll see that we now have video poster up here for the label, instructions, and a warning. And we can do that for all of these if needed. But let's use another example here. We have title assigned to both categories and, series and videos. So what we want to do is maybe we want to define a different instruction for videos versus the series. So what we can do is define the instructions, and that will be an array instead of a string, followed by the slug of the stream. And then we'll do the same thing for series. And you can do that for instructions, you can do that for warnings, and you can do that for placeholders as well as labels. So we'll have the video title here, and then over here we will have the instructions for the series title. And that's kind of nice because it helps you keep the number of fields down when using them across different streams and still provide a unique interface to the user. It's pretty cool. So now that we have this stuff taken care of, I do want to show you a couple more things. Let's make the series sortable. And by sortable, I mean I want to be able to manually sort the order of these series. So to do that, there's a couple different ways we can do this. If the stream is marked sortable in the migration, so if we were to come in here and add sortable is true, and we were to refresh the migrations, the stream would become sortable, and as such, whenever you don't order by, the default order by constraint is going to, or the default order by method is going to order by the sort order column, whereas normally it would use the title column, which defaults to the ID. So there's kind of a nice cascading little style there. If we do not define the stream as sortable, we can still have the table sortable and actually sort the entries and update their sort column. And to do that, if we go into series, table, and edit the builder, and we come down here to options, and we do sortable equals true, that means that the stream's not sortable, but this table is going to allow us to sort the stream entries anyways. And if we reload, let's create a new one. Oh, forgot the description. Perfect. And if we reorder those and click reorder, then we're good to go. So that's just a quick example of how you can make things sortable. And now when you retrieve these using like the entries plugin function or via API, they won't default to their sort order because the stream is not actually sortable, but you can use the sort order in your query to return them in the order specified. So that's pretty cool. Coming up next, we will take a look at building out a public-facing side for this using views and controllers and routing some things and some other cool stuff. So stay tuned.